Hi guys, welcome to part 3 of our soldering course, and I'm going to show you everything today to do with soldering to potentiometers. We're going to solder a wire to one of the lugs. We're also going to solder a wire to the top, and I'll show you how to do the ground connection between the lug and the top of the pot as well. Those are the 3 main things that you'll want to do when it comes to soldering to potentiometers. Now I've got my wires ready and I've pre-tinned them. So go back to the last lesson if you want to look at tinning, but these are tinned ready and ready for connection. And I'm just going to show you how I do it. If you're enjoying these videos, guys, we'd love it if you click on the link in the top right where there's a link to our website and you can check out our hand wound pickups. So we'll start off with soldering to the lug, and this wire I'm going to put through there. This is really good stuff, this hot cloth hookup wire, because what you can do with it, you can just pull it back and sort of pull it back and forward like that, and it just tucks up to the joint afterwards. So what I really recommend is actually tinning and then removing a tiny bit so that you've got some excess cloth. And I'm going to show you how to tin the lug. And what I do is I tin the lug at the very top, because gravity is a little bit of a factor here. So if I just start adding some there, and again I've got the lug between the solder and the iron. I put the iron tip up against the lug and then add to the lug, and the lug itself is like a bridge between the solder and the tip, and there you go, that is tinned. Now I do it at the very top of the lug, because then if it does, because it is going to drip down, but it'll just drip down into the lug and fill the lug. If you do it a bit further down, it'll drip down actually onto the sort of the bottom of the lug, which is not quite what you want. So now I'll come along and reheat my tinned wire and put it through like that. Just a little bit through. You don't want it poking through too much, otherwise it might at some point, I suppose, come into contact with the top of the pot, which you don't want. So have a look at that. It's a really nice shiny joint, and it's really sort of, yeah, I'm really happy with that basically. So I can now tuck my wire right up to it, because I've got some excess, and if you'll just show you how I do that, whoop, and look at that, that's not going anywhere now, so that's a really successful joint. Now we'll look at this ground connection. So what we do is actually push that so it's touching the top of the pot. It isn't actually touching it, but it's very close indeed, and this is generally on a volume knob, so the volume pot, you'll be doing this little solder connection here. So what you can do is let's just fill up the lug a little bit first, again from the very top. So just tin in the lug, and what you can do is just use something like a little file to create a little circle here to help the solder to adhere to the top of the pot. And now I'm going to actually tin the very top of the pot, and we're quite generously actually, because we're looking to make a bridge between these two things now. And then we'll come along and actually create the very top of there, we're looking to create, there you are, it's a bridge. Okay, you may need to reheat the very top of the lug, but that now is a very good solder joint, very solid and shiny, and looks great. Remember guys, if you want to go back to lesson 1, I'll show you which solder I use, which soldering iron I use, and everything to do with that. So you can find all that information in lesson 1. Now I'm going to solder now to the very top of the pot. I'm just scratching in a sort of circular fashion here, and this is the wire, a black wire, a ground wire, which is actually going to be soldered there. So I'll start by tinning the part which I've circled. I'll do it in a bit of a circular fashion like that to get a nice little spread on. And then I'll come along with my wire. I've got a little bit of solder there on the end of my wire, so it should be fairly easy to reheat that solder, and there you go, it's attached. Now that is actually good enough, but it's not quite how I like it. I like to be left with a little bit of a shiny pool. And what you'll find is now if I start adding solder, that the wire will want to remove itself. So it's a little bit of a dance really. And there is something out there called helping hands. But what I do is, because that will help you to hold the wire, I don't use those myself, I just add a little bit without fully putting the tip onto the wire, just like that. and then that frees up this hand to hold it while I reheat that sort of ball I've attached, and there we go, we've got a shiny solder pool, if you like, which is a sort of semicircular, well, not semicircular, but it's like a bit of a ball really, but it's a nice flat ball, a pool of solder there on top of the pot. I hope you found that useful. We're going to move on to lesson 4 in the series, which I put a link to, and that will be soldering to a switch. See you there.